Good afternoon and welcome to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network, where we teach you what the rich and the banks do, not what they tell you to do, and where we dispel the misconceptions of financial wellness and the local real estate market and show you how following a few key principles really can free you up to focus on the other important areas of your life, like your friends, your family, and the community. It's the most important hour of radio every Sunday right here on 660 AM. The Answer, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We want to give you good content. I want to give you good information to help you make smarter decisions, not only about your finances, but about the local real estate market, and help you have a more enriching, prosperous life. And that's why we're here every week. Happy to be with you today. Today on the show, convexity buying really helped us get low rates. Is convexity selling? You're like, what? Is this an oven? Is convexity selling going to push rates up? Well, we'll talk about that. Also going to talk about the G fee and how that affects you. No, that is not a new wrap. What will it cost you to move next year compared to this year? Market's going up. Rates are going up. What's the difference? What does that really look like in the numbers? Where if you're sitting on the fence, you definitely want to tune into this. Zillow and Trulia, those are great websites, right? They're all out there. Everybody's hearing about them, but are they really helping you? Are they really helping the market? And the importance, I'm going to hammer it again, the importance of protecting your family. It's simple. There are some documents. This is not brain science or rocket surgery. This is simple, easy steps you can follow, save you tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, depending on where you're at in your life down the road, and a ton of stress on your loved ones. You got to stay tuned when we talk to Matt Aycock of Pratt Aycock and Associates. We're going to give you some of those tips. And then my special guest today, Tom Kidd, and one of his inspectors, Lonnie Tuttle, LT. It's actually my dad, which is great. Tom's built a fantastic company over the last decade, and he is going to talk to us about a few things. One, prevention. We're in Texas. Hot summer, weird soil, get cracks. What can you do to prevent that? Save you money so you never have to talk to a foundation company. And if it's too late, how to know if it's too late and what you can do about it to keep those costs down and keep your house in great condition. Remember, guys, one of the reasons for this show is that I want to save you all the trouble and mistakes that I've made in working with contractors, in finance, in real estate, and talk about the basic principles, the right things to do so that you can have your best life as far as it relates to your home and finance, which, man, let's be honest, we are in America. We're a very consumer nation. A lot of things deals with that. Deals with your credit, deals with money, deals with your home. Everything revolves around that. So much does. So we want to help you focus on those things so you can just get on with your life. Remember, you can reach out to us during or after the show on my off-air hotline, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696. You can also email me at questions@andytuttle.com, and you can become a fan of the show. Get in the conversation. Go to Facebook, type in Tuttle Talk. You'll find us there. We'll post good articles, some inspiring information, also some good content and advice on the real estate market, on finances, on estate planning, etc. So make sure you get involved there. We love to hear from you and talk to you. Okay, Matt Aycock, Pratt Aycock and Associates, thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Hey, as always, thanks for having me back, Andy.
Yeah, good. You bet. I know you won't be here next week because you're going to be on a beach.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. We're going to my in-laws up in North Carolina on the Outer Banks, so we'll spend a week there and have some good times with the kids.
Oh, that is good. You got to get away every once in a while,
man.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
You get away for the weekend? You get away for a few days or a week?
This trip is going to be for a full week.
Ooh.
Yeah, so weekend to weekend, so it'll be like 7 or 8 days.
You going to totally unplug?
Completely.
I'm going to have to text you then a lot.
Yes.
Just,
yes, definitely. No, I won't be answering any calls.
Good for you, man. I'm happy to hear it. I was in Vegas last week at a mortgage conference, and Vegas, mortgage conferences are really good. You get a lot. It's hard work. You're there 10 hours a day, every day, learning, trying to get information in to figure out what's going on in the market right now. We heard from some great top realtors, Brian Buffini, huge national name, and some other ones. But I tell you, in Vegas, oy vey. You get done with that, and then it's like, well, there's some tables right here.
Well, yeah, the problem with Vegas is they make it to where you can't find a way out. You're literally trapped inside of that place. It's so much fun. I love going. We'll probably go again this year. I try to go at least once or twice a year just for a weekend. Anything more than that's just way too long.
Oh, man. Vegas. Well, this was Tuesday through Friday, 4 days, and learning all day, and then partying all night, hitting the tables, There's a couple cool clubs. Went to really cool patio, like 57 floors up.
Sure.
And then all the vendors and everyone wants to invite you to all their parties. So there was it was nonstop, and you go to bed at 4, and then you wake up the next day at 7, and then you're exhausted. And so then on Friday, we get back, we get to the airport where we're going to fly out, and the plane has an exit light that won't work. Just an exit light. Everything else fine.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you don't need that anyway.
We're right.
So,
if you do, I think it's too late, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing that you don't need. But go ahead.
So, thank you. So, the FAA apparently says, hey, look, you can't fly until you get this light bulb fixed. So 90 minutes later, they still can't find an extra light bulb. They have a fleet of planes outside. I was like, how do you not have light bulbs? I'll go to Home Depot. Let me get you a light bulb. Can we put some fluorescent tape?
Yeah, just tape a flashlight up there or something.
Something. So they ended up having to take that to the maintenance yard, take all the bags off the plane, get a new plane.
Wow.
5 hours later at 9 p.m., 9:05, we take off.
Wow.
Get home at 2:30 in the morning. My poor, one of my guys was there, Jason Browning, and his kid's 1-year birthday party was the next morning. He was supposed to help his wife prepare that night before.
Yeah.
So everybody's in hot water. I'm in trouble. Oy vey. It was rough. I don't know why I'm Jewish all of a sudden. But you're listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network here with Matt Aycock of Pratt, Aycock and Associates. You know, the bonds, of course, and you see this, Matt.
Sure.
Bonds continue to take another dip. Now, that's in price. So a dip in price is a rise in rates. And we are looking at this happen again. We're seeing that Bernanke basically made some statements in their Fed statement that they're going to taper off the buying. So just if you're not aware, the Fed, we buy our own mortgage bonds, right? They are buying bonds up. They're taking up supply to keep one of the things that's keeping interest rates low, trying to keep that low. And they're going to taper that off because they're saying, hey, look, the economy's getting a little bit better. So as that happens and we have more supply on the market, they have to increase the yields, or they have to, you would say, lower the price to keep other people buying, to keep it more interesting. And so the rates have to go up to make that happen because, otherwise foreign investors, if they can get the same rate of return in their own country, they're going to invest there. Why would they invest here? So we have to increase that, right? And so here's the thing, though. Don't panic if it's a situation where you're still looking for a house. If you are looking to restructure your financing, you didn't miss the boat, but you should have been listening to us a couple of months ago. But keep at it, keep vigilant. But here's the deal. There are 3 Fed meetings coming up that they could announce this at where they say, here, this is specifically, we're cutting this off. It's not going to happen on the next meeting, which is the end of June. I actually wrote this down, June 19th. It's not going to be July 31st because the employment report comes out the very next week. They don't want to jump the gun, right? If employment numbers are bad and then they say we're not buying, whoops, that would mess things up. So you really have, if you're looking for a home, if this goes like this, it's the September 18th meeting. 17th and 18th is that meeting. That's what you want to be looking for, really to see a change in the marketplace if rates are really going to take a spike like they did. I mean, they jumped up a half point last month.
They certainly did. And I think we will see when that happens. I know we've talked before about it, that I think we're going to see a point and a half increase over the next 12 months. That was like 3 or 4 months ago.
Right.
I still think that's going to happen. Now, one thing to be clear on, I mean, that's still an incredibly good rate.
Smoking.
It's still not, something you can't live with. I know I was excited when I bought the house I'm in right now initially, and I got 6 3/4. I mean, at that point in time, that was exceptional to get because everybody was, 7 or just over 7. Mm-hmm. And rates should be moving back towards that direction because when rates are as low as they are right now, it's for artificial purposes in order to make the economy work. And any time that the government is forcing the economy to work, it's not a real economy. And so we need to return back to a real economy. And it's good to see signs that we might be drifting back towards that.
I agree with that completely. I think that's a great point that you make. And I personally, and we all should want a little higher rates because that means our economy is doing better.
Sure.
Right? I'd much rather have that and better economy. And remember this, too, in your REITs, in your real estate investment trusts, a lot of these portfolios, especially if you're in mutual funds, they invest in these things. So if those rates go up, your returns go up. So you do get that back.
Absolutely.
Right? So a higher rate on your mortgage, hey, guess what? You're getting higher yields on your investments.
It just changes what you need to be doing. That's all.
100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
So when we come back here, I'm going to talk to you about the convexity buying, convexity selling, because you're talking about artificial reasons, artificial purposes. We're going to talk about some what helped get us in this low rate environment, what's probably going to push us back up, and also to that point of you being at 6.75, we're in the four right now, right? 3.75, 4.25. Next year projected around 5.5, right? We'll talk about what that means in your purchasing power, and we'll also get with our good friend, Mr. Tom Kidd, Structural Foundation, show you how to make sure you are saving money and preventing any terror on your home this summer. So stay tuned. Welcome back, Dallas. You are listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. I am your host, Andy Tuttle, here in the great state of Texas. Thank you so much for joining me and staying with us. Remember, you can reach me at the hotline, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696. You can also reach out at questions@andytuttle.com. Now, when you do call the hotline, ask people there, they're there to answer the phones for you. So if you have questions about any topic that we're discussing, maybe it's about you wanting to get connected with a good agent, or just having some questions about some of your foundation that's going on, home maintenance, home improvement issues, you've got some estate planning questions, you just want to talk about some of these things that matter in your life, well, we've got the connections for you. That's what I do. That's why I'm here. That's what every week, trying to educate and save you from working with bad people that sound like they know what they're doing, but they don't. I've done the vetting. I've spent the time. I've worked with these people. I've seen them my business, my clients. They've got good results, great results in many cases. And so I trust them. I know you can trust them, and that's why we're here on the show. So when you call the hotline, someone's going to ask you a couple of questions too. So you tell them why you're calling. That's great. You're going to have a nice 2 to 3 minute conversation to make sure that we uncover every need that you may have so we can set you up for a prosperous future. So do that, and we will take care of you. That is my commitment to you. Okay, for the break, talking about the market now, Matt, we were talking about what's happened in the market, how it's like you said, when the government is getting involved and keeping rates low for artificial reasons. One, it's not going to last.
Right, absolutely.
And two, we really want to try to get out of that as quickly as possible. We want the economy to run without that interference, if you will, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because all the government's able to do is shift tax rates, cause inflation, things of that nature in order to artificially keep that economy going. And so the fact that they're backing off on that right now, I like. It's my preference that they do. It was necessary at the time, but I don't think we need it as much now.
I agree with you, and it is a good thing, and you should be excited about that as well. They did what they needed to do. You can disagree on why too much government, too much this, and all this. Nobody's perfect. And we had a major challenge. Let's not talk about what all the reasons we got into that, because we're in it now and we're trying to get out of it. So it did help spur on some business. Some of it wasn't perfect. Some of it I do disagree with as well. But overall, doing what we can do as a nation to come together, focus on the good, focus on the recovery point and how to get there. So we should be excited that they're pulling back. So, and hopefully that continues to mean that we see better jobs numbers. We saw some of those. They wanted 170,000 jobs. We got 175. Nothing crazy, but a little bit of positive. Let's focus on that. Let's continue to do that, continue to hire, continue to get consumer confidence high, right? But let's talk about rates, because that's a lot what this show's about too. So convexity buying, very quickly, helped keep interest rates low. So what happens is banks, financial institutions, they expect typically when they do a loan to keep that on their books for 7 to 9 years. So that's what they're making the bets on. That's how they're hedging in the market. That's how they're deciding what they're going to do with that money, how they're going to leverage that money, et cetera. So when you get into a low rate environment like this, those are coming off the books in 1 year, 2 years, sure, right? So what do? They're like, well, we have to keep our book, when I'm just trying not to use technical terms here, they've got to keep that yield. They have to keep that time frame from 7 to 8 years. So what do? They buy up 10-year T-notes. Mm-hmm. Buy up those because it doesn't get called due. It's there for 10 years. So they can buy up that, and now that 2 year versus that 10 year, well, that gets it to about 7 to 8 years. Well, what does that do when they buy those 10 years? It drives down rate. And what does that do? Well, that has more people refinance, so it keeps getting quicker and quicker, so they got to buy more. So it's a spiral down and keeps lower rates low when you have the Fed interjecting and buying bonds. Well, guess what? The tide has turned, and now those books are too long. And now rates are going up. So what do they want to do to kind of keep those back down? Well, they now are selling those 10-year T-notes. And what does that do? Well, that causes less and less people to refinance. So then they buy more of those, and that drives rates up again. So it's just a cycle. So what you're going to see over the next 12 to 18 months is those rates increase now by a force of how our economy is structured, and in addition to the economy getting better. But As Matt said, he was 6'7", 5".
It's fine. I mean, it wasn't a bad deal at all. Now, when I put it into I think I'm probably like a 3.5 or 3.75. I got it at the very bottom of the market.
Yeah.
And whenever I moved into that mortgage, I mean, obviously it was a substantial difference in the payment and everything, but 6.75 is perfectly affordable. It is fine.
It is, but I'll tell you this, and of course next year is really not projected to get that high.
It won't.
5.5-ish is really 5.25, 5.75. That's kind of the standard projection. So what I'm going to talk about in the next segment after this is what that means to you, because I will say, even though Matt's right, hey, it's still a great deal. Guess what? It will affect your purchasing power. So if you're on the fence about selling, it's really important to know the difference in how much, and it's tens of thousands of dollars in home price, and we're going to go over those numbers. If you sold today and put that money, because guess what? You've got appreciation now in your home.
Sure.
You can sell that home now, put it into a new home, and have a much lower payment than you will in a year and a half from now buying the same house. Or if you can afford it and it meets your financial goals, you may be able to buy $30,000 more house, $40,000, $50,000 more house if you buy now versus waiting 18 months. That's a difference in neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
So if you're thinking about it and you're on the fence, you're going to want to stay tuned for that. So Matt, let's switch gears here to, instead of looking at all these opportunities, looking at protection. Because protection is so critical. If you don't take care of the fundamentals and you do all these great things and you invest and you make all this money, but you don't get some basic documents in place, well, guess what? You're not living forever. And all this stuff you wanted to pass on your legacy to your family isn't going to be there. Is that fair to say, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. Or if it is there, it's not going to be given to them in a way you want it to be given to them. We do the what happens if I die analysis for everybody. And the beauty of that is, if you don't want to do an estate plan or you don't think you need one, we'll for free tell you what's going to happen if you died right now and you didn't do one. And usually that's not what you want. I have seen some rare occasions where it is. I can give you a good example.
Please do.
It's usually a good way to paint the picture. We had a family one time that came to us. This gentleman, he was around our age, Andy, and good financial shape, great health, owned his house free and clear, had some, retirement investments. He was really taking care of himself. He was never married, and he didn't have any kids. He did have a girlfriend. She was not an owner in the house or anything like that. His parents were both elderly, and they were divorced and lived in 2 different states. He got killed in a car wreck, totally unpredictable. No way to really know that's going to happen. He wasn't doing anything wrong. It just happened. And so when we had to initially find out what we were going to do, the process is nobody has access to the house. Well, the first thing they have to do is they have to get an attorney. We have to go find a locksmith, get, an order to literally break into the house.
Right.
And then we've got to search that house to hope we find a will. We never found one. So we're under the assumption that he didn't have one. So then we had to go to court and go through an estate process that, required his parents to fly in a couple of times. They didn't have money. And so, that made it very difficult on them. And, it was a several-month process, cost several $1,000s, that was unnecessary.
Right.
And in the end, it was 50-50 to his 2 parents. That may have been what he wanted. I know that him and his girlfriend have been together for a very long time. I would have expected he would have wanted something to go to her. Nothing did. Or maybe he wanted to give more to, one parent over the other. There's a lot of things he could have wanted that he didn't get to have a voice in. But the other aspect of it is, and this is important, even if you have an estate plan, make sure it's retrievable. Because if you have a will, Andy, and you've got it buried in your backyard and nobody knows about it, it's not going to do you any good either. We actually run into a lot of instances where we think there's a will, but we just can't find it. And that's just as bad. So if you do an estate plan with us or any other credible law firm out there, they're going to maintain a copy as well. And just make sure that your friends and family know, hey, this is my law firm. This is who I use to do my estate plan. They will know to contact us, and we can take care of everything.
That's a huge point. having a will that no one can find is just as big a deal as not. Might as well not have spent the money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, guys, look, you can call it sensationalism. You can call it whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care why you call. I don't care why you text. I'm going to give you that number in a second. But just do it. You do not know how much time you have, how much time you're given. This is not something you mess around with, because you know who you're messing around with? Your wife or your husband, your kids. You're not sacrificing your future because you're going to be dead.
Yeah.
It's the ones you love. It's a few $100. It is one less latte a day for you this month. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not messing around here. Here's what I want you to do. You pick up your phone, pick it up, dial this number. It's a text. You don't have to talk to anybody. Isn't that great? We're all in our society where we order everything online, all our homes. 72727. Dial 72727. And this is what you're going to type. Talk now. Talk now. No spaces. One word. Talk now. What you're going to get is access to his free assessment. It is the what happens if I die? Just find out. Go, okay, I like that result. Take 10 minutes of your life. Find out. If you don't like the result, though, or you think your family's not going to like the result, or your girlfriend, someone you want to give something to, then you call. Have a free consultation with Matt. He does this for my listeners, so take advantage of it. 72727. Talk now. You'll be glad you did. We're going to mention this multiple times in the show, and I'm going to hit you with this every single week because it's that important. And we're going to give you different stories every single week because you got to hear this. It's so important, and only 5% of Americans have it. Are you kidding me? Who cares how much wealth you get if you don't keep it? Okay. Now, I want to get to another. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Thank you for letting me get on my rant.
You just got on a big soapbox. I had to let you keep going.
Now let me keep going. So now I want to get to our good friend. We're going to switch the gears here to real estate because there's a lot of buzz about Zillow and all that. Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? And then we're going to get to the number one. He's number one Angie's List rated service provider. Got the Super Service Award. And he is going to talk to us about how to help you prevent all the junk and foundation breaking that goes on in Texas in the summer. So stay with us. Welcome back, Dallas. You are listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network. I'm your host, Andy Tuttle. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, you can reach us at our hotline, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696. And if you want to get access to the free What Happens If I Die assessment, and if you're just joining us, that is something that every American should do. Find out if you're going to like the result of what happens to your wealth and your property and your family when you die, if you don't have a will or a trust or any of those documents. And you dial 72727 on your phone, 72727, and text the word, all one word, no spaces, talk now. It's that simple. Talk now. You'll get access to the free assessment provided by Pratt Aycock and Associates, and you can just do it on your own time. Find out if it's something that you like the result. Great. Don't do anything. If you don't like the result, it's something you should call. It's a few $100, guys. It is a no-brainer. You don't think about it, just do it. But text 72727. Text talk now to that number, and we'll get you going and find out if you like those results. Have with me now on the phone, like we talked about in our real-time real estate segment, our good friend and expert over at the Oleg Group at Halo Group Realty, Chris Oleg. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Andy.
Hey, you bet, man. My pleasure. Look, I know you're out there, and I know you're busy, especially on the weekend, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's a lot of buzz going around about Zillow and Trulia. They've been around for a while, but really the buzz has picked up. For our audience, if you just tell us what Zillow and Trulia is real quick.
Okay, they're kind of different, but they're also similar websites. So Zillow originally was started more aimed towards giving people a valuation of a property.
The Zestimate.
A Zestimate is what it is, yes. And then Trulia and Zillow both, you can search for homes on there, apartments, rent properties, and you can there's Q&A, question type advice that, realtors can give, or the public can kind of ask questions and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's the basic stuff, but boy, they seem to be using it for a lot more than that, right? I mean, they really are using that as their search tool to find new homes now, aren't they, a little bit?
Yeah, so the public is basically, they're going to these websites because they're very user-friendly websites. So they're really easy to use, but the problem with them, for Zillow, we'll start with Zillow. The problem with Zillow is it's great for searching for things, but it gives what is the Zestimate, Well, Texas, for example, is a non-disclosure state, means that home sale prices are not actually public information. So when these websites like Zillow are pulling public data, what they're only pulling is the recorded mortgage data, which doesn't take into account how much people are putting down for the property. So it's giving these estimates that are always going to be lower, than the actual value. So people think that when they're buying a house that they can offer what the estimate is, which is not anywhere close to the actual value of property.
Well, that's a huge deal, and I'm sure a huge problem if a client's coming in thinking, look, it's like going to WebMD and think you know how to diagnose yourself, isn't it a little bit?
It's the same thing, and I just got off. I was talking to someone online that asked a question just a few minutes ago. They're trying to do a cash-out refi on their property, and the lender, the value came back way lower, and when I asked how they went about doing the appraisal, he said that the lender just pulled up the value online. I'm assuming they probably just pulled it up from a site such as Zillow, and now the guy, he's shorted $10,000 because the value came back less.
Right, and I guess that lender's not me.
It's not.
What's that all about? That's ridiculous.
Actually Wells Fargo. He's doing a cash out. It's not even my client.
Look at that. I got a sweat.
He's bagging away now.
A sweat. So wait a second. You're telling me that a Zestimate could be 20% off on the actual value of the home if somebody's putting 20% down?
It could be 20% off, yeah. I mean, if it's pulling values around that area and it's only taking into account the mortgage data, yeah, it could be 20% off, if not more. They're they're creating algorithms a little bit better, to get the values a little bit closer, but, they're still off. And then I also want to touch on Truly real quick, because Truly is a big one. There's a lot of scammers out there right now, and, it's within the industry. What's happening is people are going in, these scammers or fishers are going in and they're putting in kind of fake ads into these websites to collect data. So people think that they see this really awesome deal on the site. They click on it, they provide some information. Some of these companies are saying, hey, fill out this application, send us a deposit. So people are sending money to unknown people because they're trying to jump on this amazing deal. When it comes down to it, the company doesn't exist. The home isn't even for lease or for sale, and people are just getting ripped off. So if you find something on any of those sites, the best thing to do is call a realtor, verify it that it's an actual property for sale or for lease, and get some assistance in that way, because these sites are not monitored by any organization such as the Texas Real Estate Commission, because they're not tied to any actual real estate companies. They're just websites that anyone can create. So
that's a big point. So here's the deal, guys. If you go on to, and this is my takeaway from this, and then Matt, I'll let you chime in if you have anything.
Sure.
So what I take away is it's a good place to start and get an idea. But one, and I know this, Chris, some of that inventory, some of the stuff they get on there, it's a year old. It's 18 months old because they just want to see. You think you find a house on there that's available, then you get mad at your agent because it's not available. Well, it hasn't been available for 18 months, right?
Correct. They're ad-based websites, so they're actually they have information on there that can be old, that can be outdated, but the purpose of it is to show that they have more listings than you can find from a realtor.
Right.
Which it draws people to the website, and then come to find out, those things are expired, because the way they get their data, they pull their data. When we list something in the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, it gets usually syndicated to these sites one time. It doesn't get retracted, though. So these sites only retract after they pull it from public information, which, as you know, homes can get the mortgage information can be recorded, 2 months down the road.
Okay, Chris, thank you so much for your time. We've gone a little long here, but I do appreciate your time, and thanks for that great information about Zillow, guys. Know what you're looking at. It's a marketing site. It's great to start, but if you know more than your realtor, you're dealing with the wrong realtor. So deal with a professional. If you're not sure, if you think you know more than your realtor, call me. Call 214-736-9696. Let's get you with a professional that knows more than you. You know your business. Good realtors know their business, and they should, and they can help you with stuff like this, because I'll tell you right now, you may have been able to get away with a lowball offer 6 months ago. You go off a Zestimate now and make that offer, you're done. They're going to the next one, and you just lost that house. And your wife, my wife, would definitely not be happy. So, Chris, thanks so much for being with us again, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Andy. Talk to you soon, Matt.
All right, bye.
Okay, guys, I got 45 seconds max to go over this cost of waiting, but I got to hit it with you. Look, timing your move up. I told you before the last break, if you are waiting and on the fence, maybe we'll see when they go down again. Don't do it. 3 years ago, 2006, 2007, cost to own a home. Rates were about 6.5%. Let's say on that $300,000 home, all day, you're looking, on your principal and interest payment only. That's all I'm comparing here. $1,500 a month. $1,516.96 was your average payment on a $300,000 purchase with 20% down. In today's market, we're around 4%. That same house, $1,163 a month. A savings of $353 a month. That's about $60,000 in house. Hello, that's a big difference. Now, you want to wait to move up? You say, I won't sell now, even though you're appreciated. Well, guess what? If you decide to put that extra money right now that you got into a house, you can get about $50,000 more house than you could 5 years ago, and you can get about $30,000 more house than you can get in about 18 months from now because the rate's projected at 5.5. That same $300,000 purchase costing you about $1,362 a month, a $199 difference in payment. Guys, these are real numbers. You've got appreciation in your house. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Do not be greedy with the market. You've seen appreciation. Rates are still at relatively all-time lows. Get that house now. Get in the neighborhood that you want to get in, and we need more sellers on the market. Inventory is ridiculously low. You're going to have buyers lining up at the door. You're going to be able to get multiple bid offers, and you're going to get top-of-market price. This is the time. Sell the home. Reinvest that. Put it in a new home. Save that money. Save for your college education. Pay down bills. Get into a nicer home than you could have gotten into and will be able to get into in 18 months from now. There's no better time. Call 214-736-9696 or email me questions at andytuttle.com. We'll get you set up. Coming up, number one, he is top rated at Angie's List, number one on Angie's List in DFW. He's received the Super Service Award. He's on the Good Contractors List, the only foundation repair company to get on that. And that's a big list to get on because he does great work. He's going to give you some preventative tips to help you with your foundation and give you some ways, some telltale signs of what to look for to find out if you need to look at getting an inspection on your foundation. All that next. And we're back. Welcome back, Dallas. You are listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, you can reach out to me on my off-air hotline, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696, or email me at questions@andytuttle.com. We have Tom Kidd of Structured Foundation Repair and one of his great inspectors, Lonnie Tuttle, LT, as we affectionately call him, or Dad, as I call him, because he is my dad here with us. I told you, and I've told you the show, that, hey, it's Texas summers. It's hot. Stuff bad happens to your foundation. We've got Tom here. He has been number one on Angie's List in Dallas or DFW. We're going to get that from him in a minute. He is I think the only company on the contractors list right now, the only foundation repair company. That's a big list. We'll talk to him about that as well. Hard to get on. And he's here because he's built a fantastic business. And I tell you all the time that I'm here to help connect you with great professionals in the area. That's why you listen to the show, so you don't have to go through all the mistakes that I made on this. You can find the good people immediately and get connected. So we're going to get with him. Tom, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's been an LT, buddy. Good to see you.
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. So appreciate your patience during the show here, but this is a very important conversation to have. So, Tom, you've been doing this for over a decade, correct?
That's right, about 13 years.
13 years. What gave you the idea to start a foundation company?
Well, I got my degree in petroleum engineering from Texas A&M, and I was in the oil business back in the 80s. And then, of course, the price of oil collapsed. The company I worked for went out of business. I needed a job, so I went and got a job in contracting, thinking it would be a short-term thing and the oil business would rebound. It really never did, and kind of evolved to where I got in foundation repair through a friend of mine and decided that it was a business I enjoyed. I get outside, using my engineering background, and so learned the business and then started my own company. Figured I could do it a little bit better than the place I was at.
Well, I think you proved that because in the last 12 years, you've gone from, 3 employees to 150?
We're in our 11th year, and we started with 3 employees, and we've got about 150 employees right now.
That's a lot of growth, and the realtors in the community love you. They trust you. Their clients trust you, and that's why you're here. And I do love you're wearing a maroon Structured Foundation shirt, so that totally explains the Aggie, yes?
Gig 'em.
Great. You got to get that in there. So talking about foundation in Texas, we have rough soil here. I don't understand all that. But what's the thing about the soil here?
Texas has clay soil, and clay is an expansive soil, meaning the volume of soil swells or shrinks depending on moisture content. So what you typically get in the summertime, it gets hot and dry, the soil dries out and it shrinks, and you get air cracks. Obviously, air is not going to support the weight of a structure, so it sinks. And once it does that, it has to be mechanically raised and supported with piers. So most of the problems in Texas are settlement as a result of the soil shrinking due to being too dry.
Does that make it more challenging to fix because of the soil that we have here?
The fixing it is just a function of the fact that it settles.
Right.
The soil doesn't make it harder or easier to fix. It just is the reason it fails in the first place. Because foundations are designed to move a little bit or flex as the seasons change. You can visualize a pencil. You can take a pencil and bend it back and forth, and it'll flex. And then you get a little aggressive, and you bend a little bit too much, and without any warning, it basically snaps. And that's what foundations do when they're flexing back and forth. It gets a little hot and dry, and it moves past what it can rebound from, and it fails and has to be mechanically raised and supported with piers.
So, because I have misconceptions about this too, but I know there's a ton of misconceptions about foundation repair. So since we're talking about what exactly is foundation repair, what do you do?
Well, as we've discussed, foundation repair can involve several things, but mostly in Texas it involves lifting foundations that have permanently settled with piers. So it involves putting piers in the ground under whatever portion of the foundation that has settled and failed, and then using hydraulic jacks on top of the piers to lift it back in place. And then once you get it lifted back in place, you set the weight of the structure on the pier, because the soil is not capable of supporting it because it expands and contracts and the foundations fail. So it has to be supported with something mechanical, and that's what the pier is.
So, and that the same for a slab foundation? Doesn't matter?
Slab foundations are lifted with piers, and so are pier and beam foundations,
right.
Depending on the construction type. We can put piers on a pier and beam foundation if it's got a concrete perimeter beam. You know, like if you have a brick house, you have to have it sitting on something solid. That's a concrete perimeter beam.
Okay.
And, of course, there's piers underneath the house in the crawl space that support the floor, the beams, which ultimately support the floor joists. So we can put piers on both pier slabbed houses and pier and beam houses. So
then, okay, when they get to that point where you need to do that, or people get to a point where they think they need it, when do people normally come to you, and when should they come to you?
Well, you should come to us when you think you might have movement that's beyond seasonal norms. And that's an inexact science. There's no, it's not going to break like the pencil. So you're just going to see some signs, your typical sheetrock cracks or brick veneer cracks, or maybe some doors that stick. And those are the signs that you look for that you need to get it professionally inspected. Now, you can have all of those things and not necessarily have a foundation problem, but those are the things that typically are the signs of having a foundation problem. Like the sign of having a cold is you start to have a runny nose,
right,
or you get a cough. Well, those are the symptoms of the fact that you got a cold.
Right. So in that situation, like we see cracks in the house, which we know this stuff. Some cracks, though, don't actually mean anything, right? That's just, but everybody gets scared of cracks. My wife gets really upset at cracks. Oh, my gosh. So we actually had Dad come over and look at them, and it was like, it's nothing. But some of those, how do you know which ones are okay cracks and which ones aren't?
Well, evaluating a foundation ultimately is an opinion.
Right.
There's no formula that you plug a bunch of numbers in and say, oh, this house needs piers and this one's okay. It's an opinion. It's very similar to going to the doctor. You go to the doctor, you got some symptoms, he takes some tests, and he gives you a medical opinion. And you might go to a different doctor and you get a totally different opinion. So foundation opinions are based on two things. When we do an inspection, the first thing we look for is all the physical clues that the house is moving, because a rigid structure like a house that moves is going to give you some signs, the cracks and what have you. And then we take an elevation survey. That's measurements throughout the floor of the foundation, up or down. And there's guidelines for slope, what's acceptable for slope. And you basically put those two things together. If you've got measured slope beyond the norm, you have some stress signs, well, you can reasonably deduce that something's moved. But if I measure from here to a corner and it measures down an inch, that doesn't mean that corner sank an inch. That's one of 1,000 possibilities.
Right.
Maybe it was built down an inch. In that case, there probably wouldn't be any cracks. Maybe it was built up an inch, so it actually is sank 2 inches to get down an inch today. Maybe the spot didn't move down, but maybe my other spot moved up because you got upward movement and downward movement. So that's why it can become very complicated But ultimately it's an opinion-based thing.
Right. And so it's another reason why you shouldn't try to inspect your foundation yourself.
Exactly.
There's a lot of little things that could trick you. So here's the deal. You're listening to Tuttle Talk, and we are talking with Tom Kidd and Lonnie Tuttle of Structured Foundation Repair. Tom Kidd, it's his company, Structured Foundation Repair. And one of the things that we're doing and he's doing, and it's just natural, a lot of people think it's expensive or it costs money to get an inspection. Guess what? Doesn't cost you anything. If you're in a position that you think, man, maybe I need to get this checked out, like we were, just get out your phone, text the number 72727. Text 72727. And this is what you're going to type in there. It's real easy. One word. Talk now. Talk now. One word, no spaces. Text that to 72727, and you will get set up for a free inspection of your home. You'll have a conversation and be able to get that going and find out if you need to get foundation repair, and it's free. And LT, that's what you do. You go in there when that happens, and people go, yeah, I think I may have something wrong. I'm not sure. And I think remember from you, Tom, that 1 in 4 actually don't need anything. And you guys are the best in the biz. I think that's probably one of the reasons you got rated number 1 Angie's List, is because you tell people, guess what? You don't need anything. And Lonnie, you do that a lot, right?
Yeah, my percentage is around 35% that there's actually been no problems.
Right. So that's great to hear. And that's important for you to hear, because guess what? You may not have a problem, but you need to get it checked out, because if you do have a problem, the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. Is that correct?
Generally speaking, the best time to fix the foundation is when you first notice the problem. As it goes on over the years, it tends to get worse. You get more up and down movement. You get more instances of plumbing leaks, more framework problems, and brick and sheet veneer, sheetrock and brick veneer. So the best time to fix is when it's first discovered.
Okay. So, Lonnie, you get the call. You go out there. What exactly, very quickly, 30, 45 seconds, what is the process you go through to assess if they need something done?
First thing you do, you begin to look for window frame separations, freeze board separations, outside cracks in the brick, just to kind of give you an idea. Is there really anything going on at all? Because a lot of times, none of that's there. You don't see those things. So then you go inside the house, you take the elevation survey measurements, and then you put all the pieces of the puzzle together like Tom was talking about and determine if anything really needs to be done or not.
Gotcha. After you put everything in there, you go, okay, this and this and this. Okay, we don't need anything, or we do. And if they do need something, you're able to let them know, hey, here's an estimated cost, and then decide what if you want to move forward, correct?
We are able to do that at the time of the inspection.
Okay, so last question for you as far as prevention goes. What are some things people can do just on a normal basis to prevent this from happening?
The way to prevent foundation problems is to maintain the moisture content of the soil around the house as consistently as possible. And that's an impossible thing, because you've got the soil 100% saturated after a big rain and bone dry in the middle of the summertime. That's a huge range of moisture content. With a watering program, you kind of minimize that down to a manageable amount. And that's all you can do. So right now we have restricted watering. So you're restricted to 1, maybe 2 days a week. And that's kind of like tying a hand behind your back, trying to fight off having a foundation problem. So you might want to look at watering when you can, and also putting in some soaker hoses to augment a watering program.
Okay, so basic stuff. Nothing too complicated, guys. It's just do it. If you don't have a soaker hose, spend a couple of bucks, go to Home Depot, right? Get a soaker hose. Mm-hmm. It's those simple. And then just turn it on. That can save you thousands of dollars later.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, possibly. At least prolong it until you move out of the house and get another one and give it somebody else's problem. Not that I condone that. But that's very valuable information. Here's the takeaways, guys. 1, it's free to get an inspection, and you may not have a problem. And this company will actually tell you that, not like the company that did some plumbing issue that made it a lot more issue than it was and gave me a huge problem. Don't do it with that. Do it with a company like this. Text Talk Now, one word, no spaces, to 72727. We'll get you set up with that free inspection. Tom, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Andy.
You bet. And Lonnie, of course, love you, man. Appreciate you being here as well. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this hour. That's it for Tuttle Talk. Tune in next week. We're going to talk to Chief Economist Elliot Eisenberg. He's out of D.C. He's going to tell you what to expect this year, what you'll be looking at, not just in homes, but in general in our economy. So thank you so much. Go to bootcampaign.com, get your boots on, and tell us about it. And thank you for joining Tuttle Talk, where we're making financial intelligence a priority in the community. Have a great weekend.